everybody. Welcome to the Harbor.Church podcast.
What's up?
Yeah, we're joined this week by my pal, Mike Avant, Pastor Mike,
Yeah.
location
What's up, Katie?
pastor at our Harbor.Church Mashpee location. How are we
Yep.
doing today?
Good. How are you?
Oh, lovely. Couldn't be better.
Good,
Yeah, we're
good.
hanging out.
Yeah.
Your first time on a podcast,
I think
presume?
so. I think
Exciting.
so. Yeah.
Huge day. Huge day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure, it's what you've dreamed of for a
It
while.
sure
so
is. I'm so
we're
excited.
finally in. Before we get into what we're going to talk about this week, you preached this past weekend. We've been in our Sinking Ship series. We were talking specifically about the difference between truth and lies and how to discern that, where we get truth, the difference between God's truth and our truth, all kinds of good stuff. But I'd love for our listeners, if any of them don't know you, to hear a little bit about how you ended up as the location pastor at Harbor.Church Mashpee, because like Pastor Josh, that's been his vocation for a while, right? Like he went to school for that. It's been his thing.
Yeah.
That is not your story, which I think is actually very cool and encouraging. So I'm going to share a little bit of that, how you ended up here.
Well, we had a drawing. And, no,
We cast lots.
Yeah, basically. To put the pieces together, I mean, we were just, we were coming to the church and, yeah, it just happened. One day we were serving and, you know, he just pulled me aside and he was like, hey man, what do you think about possibly stepping into a leadership role? And I was like, yeah, man, what are you thinking? Like, I'm always up for it. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And he's like, well, I'm not really sure exactly what that's going to look like, but we'll talk about it. And it just, step by step, it just grew and grew. And I never said no. And he seemed excited. So we went on with it. It was
Right
good.
on.
Yeah. it was
Never
good.
said no is a great way to
Yeah.
put it. Yeah. Kind of the story of
Thought about it.
yeah, God doing anything in your life. It's like, well, I never said no, and
Yeah.
here I am. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
How do you think it's changed how you see church, how you see God? Like, what's been the difference in your life stepping into that leadership position?
I would say that one of the most impactful things that I've seen is being able to stand in the back of the church and just watch people come, go, and receive, as opposed to just coming myself and just receiving and worshiping. It's been a cool transition just to see people come and go and be in that position where you can watch people develop and, you know, just watch from behind, you know, from behind the curtain, so to speak.
Yeah. I know
It's
what
been
you
good.
mean.
Yeah, it's cool.
That's cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm with you on that. That's kind of my favorite thing.
Yeah,
is
it's really cool.
just watching God do stuff in other people's
Yeah.
lives and kind of getting a front row seat to it.
Yeah, it's been cool.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah.
Well, specifically on the idea of truth and lies that we dug into this week, you and Pastor Ron both preached
Yeah.
and kind of got into the idea that we can, our truth, right, the things we personally believe that are not necessarily based on what God says is true can change a lot
Yeah.
over the years, sometimes for good reasons, sometimes for bad reasons, some of it's just growing up and your perspective changes. But I wondered if you had any specific examples, and you can go in any direction you want with it, personally or spiritually or whatever, but what do you think are some major changes in your beliefs, some major truths that you maybe lived a lot of your life thinking they were true and then have come to discover that God has something else to say about it?
Yeah. That's a huge question.
Big question. You go where you want with it.
What are some things that I saw change when I started walking with God? Is that how you
Sure.
read it?
Yeah.
You know, just not knowing every step, I think, was a big step for me. I was still am, kind of a big planner.
Yeah.
This is how I want to see this week go. This is how I want to see, you know, this go with my kids or with my wife or whatever, you know. And just surrendering now, just being like, I'm not in control of any of it. And I got to realize, like, he's at the helm.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just along for the ride, you know.
Yeah.
As long as I'm here and ready and my hands are ready to work, I'm good, but I'm not in control of any of it. So I had to really wrestle with that, you know, because I think we all, to some degree, are like, well, I've got step A to, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Right.
You know. And,
I'm going to lay it out. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know. As I've gotten a little older and I've gotten closer to God, I've realized, like, I can lay them all out and he's going to make a change.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, might as well not waste the time.
yeah, seriously.
Yeah,
So,
which is obviously not to say never plan anything.
yeah, right, exactly.
But have open hands, be
Right.
loose about
Be
it.
okay
Yeah.
about it. Yeah, be
Yeah.
okay with the change.
Yeah. Do you think that was was that an anxiety inducing process for you? Is that stressful, or were you kind of more
Absolutely.
go with the flow? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, not knowing the next step.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, even you mentioned stepping into being the location pastor. Completely out of my realm. Like, never thought that would be, something that I would walk towards. But, just God just reconfirms that decision by saying yes. He just shows me little things, like somebody will come up and be like, "Hey, Mike, I'm kind of struggling with this," and I'm like, "Okay, that's one."
Yeah.
And then they just add up one after another. So it's cool.
Yeah.
It's really
Yeah.
cool.
Just do the next right thing. That's
Yeah.
good. It's also from Frozen. I don't know if you've seen Frozen too. You have boys, so probably not. but,
No. I mean, I think we have seen it.
Shout out to our Disney fans. Frozen 2 tapped into some good truth from God's word, whether they
I
knew
don't
it or
think
not.
we're in the movie series, Kitty.
Yeah, oh, that's right. My bad. See you next summer. And then what do you think? You've been pretty open. You even spoke a little bit during the message this past weekend about your relationship with your dad, how important that is for all of us. The way that we see God is so colored by how we interact with our earthly father, good or bad.
Sure.
I had a great dad, he's still alive.
Yeah.
Shout
I
out
met him.
Papa Rich.
Nice guy.
He's probably listening to this right now,
yeah.
alive and breathing.
I see where you get your humor from.
Yeah, for better or for worse. He made me this way. You can
He's a
blame
good
him.
dude. I
Send
like
your
him.
emails to him.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that totally shapes the way that we interact with God as our higher
Yeah.
power. Do you think there's maybe lies that you believed growing up or even as an adult because of the lack of relationship with your dad that God has had to kind of work out of you or show you different truths?
Sure. I mean, I think to some degree, most men, they take on certain lies. Like, you got to be, in my generation, you got to be somewhat masculine. You got to have these traits or whatever, And as I've gotten closer to God, like I realize your masculinity doesn't all have to be,
Like rough,
I'm all muscle and bone,
Yeah.
It's just being transparent, vulnerable at times, And I find, like, as my kids grow, it's teaching me more about how to be a godly man than it is anything else. It really shapes me because, if I come home and I'm in a mood and they're not ready for that, it's, I change the whole atmosphere of the house. So, but the lies that I believed from my own dad were really opposite. So, like, if like your dad was around, so you can kind of spin off the things that he taught you.
Yeah.
And you can take the good with the bad. But for me, it was really a blank canvas. So I just had this conversation with somebody yesterday. This is funny to say on camera, but I've always called myself a thief. So, like, all the men that have been around me, I've tried to steal what I could from them, each one of them.
Yeah.
Some good things, some bad things.
Sure.
But the things that I really liked, I tried to place myself there, and God showed me, like, hey, this is good for you. You should keep that with them. So it's been a journey.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, that's interesting. I think we all do that, consciously or not, right?
Sure.
We're always kind of taking little pieces of other
Sure.
people, and
Sure.
it's really important who we surround ourselves with.
Yeah, definitely.
'Cause you can steal some of the wrong things and end up
Definitely.
somebody that
Yeah.
God does not call you to be. Yeah, that's good. Just as like a final little closing question, if for any of our listeners that are kind of wrestling through their own uncertainty, maybe on what is true, what isn't, maybe doubts with God or stuff they grew up believing and are trying to figure out how to sort through it all, what would you just recommend in terms of seeking after God's truth? Like, where would you start?
Well, I guess it would depend on where your journey is, like where you are in your relationship with Christ. But I think always a great place to start is in the New Testament. I remember when I was first getting into reading Scripture, like most people, you start in Genesis,
Sure.
and then you get to the begats, and you're like, "What's
What's happening?"
this?
Yes, yeah.
Right?
The bagats. It's good.
So I started with a King James version, so it was
I did
like
too.
way over my head.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend.
Great in Proverbs, I would say, but yeah, that's kind of where I started. So I would suggest if you're struggling through it, Proverbs is probably a good place to start for just a daily devotional. And then maybe get into Matthew, start with the gospel, get through that, maybe go through that for a whole month, maybe go through Matthew for a month and just keep rereading it because you get a lot from it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think so. And I try to do that now. So I'll stick with a chapter a month. Like right now I'm in 2 Corinthians, and chapter 4 is kicking my butt. I'm like, oh man, I'm hard pressed on every side. So, but that's helped me a lot. That's given me a lot of direction along the way.
Yeah, that's good. I like that too. The kind of slow and steady. I feel like there's a lot of people feel pressure to understand it all at once. And
Right.
I gotta just,
Yeah.
I gotta read the whole Bible now and catch up. I was like, well,
Sure.
you
You
just
put that pressure on
take
yourself.
one
Go
piece
ahead.
at a time.
Yeah.
God told us his word doesn't return void. So any time spent in it is going to be profitable. Yeah. Yeah. That's good stuff. I did the same thing as you. I was 16, 17 and dug up an old King James Bible that my grandmother had given me for Christmas when I was like 6. Found it at the bottom of my closet. And I was like, guess I'll just start reading this because people say it's the
good
right
stuff.
thing to do. Yeah. And I was lost. But even in that, like God was very faithful, and in all the big ats and the stuff I did not understand, he brought along people and wisdom to kind of help point me in the right direction. But yeah, that's good. And I think just inviting God in on that process too. Yeah. I think we also put the pressure on ourselves to, like, I have to have the routine and I've got to get all this figured out and I've got to know the answers. And it's like, well, what if you
check
just
the box every day?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's healthy and it's good to be in God's word every day, but not without him. You know?
True.
So consulting him and so like, God, what do you want me to read?
So how about you? Reverse the question.
Which question?
Last one.
Oh, like what I would recommend for where people to begin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't prepared to answer my own question. Classic. Got me. No, I think I totally agree with what you said about the Bible and just kind of taking it easy and letting it be meaningful processing time instead of just taking in as much as you possibly
burning
can.
through it.
Yeah. I also think we underrate prayer all the time, no matter where you're at with your walk with God. We underrate it. And I think we leave him out of the things that he most wants to be involved in.
Yep.
Like we put it on ourselves to know him better and to know truth better when he's like, hello.
Yeah.
You could ask me. Yeah. You know, like and
we got the yoke alone.
Yes. Yeah. And it's silly. And I talked to Pastor Ron about this a few weeks ago and when he was on here, but I've kind of started a new process of asking God questions in my time with him. Very intentional, open-ended questions. Not necessarily expecting an answer immediately, but just like, God, I want your answers on this, and you bring them whatever way you want. Yep. I'm not looking for an audible voice, but I know that you can use people and circumstances and books and the freaking radio and whatever to bring me to what you want me to bring me to. So I'm just asking, what do you want me to do here? Or what's the right choice? Or, you know.
Then you get that open door. And you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, now I see it. Like, yes. And the more I do that, the more I recognize his voice at work in whatever way it's at work.
For sure.
So yeah, I would just tell people.
It's like he has a plan.
Yeah, like ask him. Ask him what it is, because you don't like, it doesn't.
Right.
If you keep relying on yourself, you're going to end up back in the exact same spot you started in. Like you got yourself to here. Right. If here isn't where you want to be, maybe ask God to get you somewhere.
What's your
else.
next step?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Isn't that so cool when that happens though?
That's
Like when you can see a clear path towards what he's planned out for you, you're like, where did that come from?
Yeah, like
this is so much better.
And it's
I
always
wish I
unexpected.
thought that.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good.
No matter how many times he does it, I'm still like, dang.
Yeah.
Did it again.
It's been great.
Yeah, it's good.
It's cool to watch.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for being here today, Mike.
Oh, thanks for having me. Yeah.
Thanks for you're a professional podcaster now. You did it. You got the headphones. Put it on your resume.
All right, I'll send you the bill.
Huge day. We'll catch you guys next week. Thanks for listening.
Cool. Good to see you.